CEO threw water on a single dad applying for a job, then the owner said, "He's here for your job." The glass of water flew across the executive lounge and exploded against the chest of the exhausted single father. Cold water soaked his worn suit, dripped from his hair, and splashed onto the polished marble floor. The room fell silent. Employees froze. Security guards glanced at one another. The man sitting in the waiting chair didn't move. He simply lowered his eyes and gripped the faded leather briefcase resting on his lap. Across from him stood Victoria Hale, the powerful CEO of Hale Industries. Her face burned with irritation as she looked at the men she assumed didn't belong there. To her, he looked like another desperate applicant who had somehow wandered into the executive floor. What she didn't know was that within the next hour, her entire life would change. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and treating every person with dignity no matter their circumstances, please like this video, comment below, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Bright Heart for more emotional and inspiring stories that remind us of the power of compassion. The man's name was Daniel Carter. For the past 3 years, life had tested him in ways most people could never imagine. His wife, Emma, had passed away after a long battle with cancer, leaving him alone to raise their 7-year-old daughter, Lily. The hospital bills had swallowed their savings. The funeral costs had pushed him into debt. Eventually, Daniel lost the management position he had held for over a decade when the company downsized. Since then, every day had become a battle. He woke before sunrise, prepared Lily for school, worked temporary jobs whenever he could find them, and spent nights filling out applications. Sometimes he skipped meals so his daughter could have enough food. Sometimes he stayed awake worrying about overdue rent notices hidden inside the kitchen drawer. Yet despite everything, Daniel refused to become bitter. His daughter remained his reason to keep fighting. Whenever things became difficult, Lily would smile and tell him that tomorrow would be better. That simple belief kept him moving forward. When Daniel learned that Hale Industries was hiring for a senior executive position, he almost didn't apply. The company was one of the largest corporations in the city. Thousands of candidates would compete for the role. But a former colleague encouraged him. "You have the experience. You have the skills. Just try." So Daniel tried. After several rounds of evaluations conducted online, he received an invitation to visit the company's headquarters. It felt like the first piece of good news he had received in years. That morning, however, everything went wrong. His car broke down. The bus arrived late. A sudden rainstorm soaked him while walking several blocks toward the office tower. By the time he entered the building, his suit looked wrinkled and worn. His shoes were wet. His appearance reflected years of hardship. The receptionist directed him toward the executive waiting area. Daniel sat quietly, clutching his briefcase. Inside that old case were recommendations, certifications, awards, and a career's worth of accomplishments. But nobody around him could see those things. They only saw his appearance. Several employees walked past and exchanged judgmental glances. Some assumed he was lost. Others assumed he was applying for an entry-level position. No one bothered to ask his story. Then Victoria Hale arrived. As CEO, she was known for intelligence, ambition, and ruthless standards. Her company generated billions. Her decisions shaped thousands of careers. Unfortunately, years of success had slowly built a wall between her and ordinary people. She noticed Daniel immediately. Her eyes narrowed. Assuming he was occupying an executive waiting area by mistake, she approached him. Without asking questions or checking records, she concluded he was wasting everyone's time. Her frustration from a stressful morning boiled over. Moments later, she grabbed a glass of water from a nearby table and threw it directly at him. The shock rippled through the room. Water dripped from Daniel's face. Humiliation settled over him like a heavy blanket. Yet he did something remarkable. He remained calm. He slowly removed a handkerchief from his pocket and wiped his face. Years earlier, he might have responded with anger. But life had taught him patience. Life had taught him that pride often costs more than dignity. Victoria expected outrage. Instead, she saw sadness. Not weakness. Not fear. Just sadness. For a brief moment, something about Daniel's eyes unsettled her. Before she could speak again, the elevator doors opened. An older gentleman stepped into the lobby. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Executives straightened their posture. Managers became visibly nervous. Everyone recognized him. It was Robert Hale, the founder and owner of Hale Industries. Although semi-retired, Robert still held ultimate authority over the corporation. Victoria's confidence immediately returned. She assumed her father had arrived for a routine visit. Then Robert noticed Daniel. His face brightened. To everyone's surprise, he hurried toward the soaked applicant. Daniel stood respectfully. Robert extended both hands and greeted him warmly. The room stared in disbelief. Victoria looked confused. Then came the words that changed everything. Robert turned toward his daughter and asked why Daniel was drenched. Nobody answered. The silence said enough. Robert's expression darkened. Finally, he spoke words that froze every person in the room. He isn't here applying for a job under you. He's here for your job. The room seemed to stop breathing. Victoria's face went pale. Daniel looked equally stunned. Months earlier, Robert had quietly hired an independent consulting firm to evaluate leadership candidates for the company's future. He wanted someone capable of leading Hale Industries into its next chapter. The search focused on integrity, resilience, emotional intelligence, and leadership under pressure. Daniel had ranked first among every candidate. His achievements, recommendations, and leadership history were extraordinary. But what impressed Robert most wasn't Daniel's resume. It was what happened after Daniel lost everything. Robert had personally reviewed reports showing how Daniel volunteered at food banks despite his own financial struggles. How he mentored unemployed workers. How he cared for his daughter while facing immense hardship. Daniel possessed something no business school could teach. Character. And character was exactly what Robert believed the company needed. Victoria stood speechless. For years, she had measured people by appearances, credentials, and status. Her father measured people differently. Robert believed the true test of leadership was how someone treated others who could offer nothing in return. Today, Victoria had failed that test publicly. The humiliation she intended for Daniel had become a mirror reflecting her own flaws. For the first time in years, she saw herself clearly. Daniel could have celebrated. He could have demanded revenge. He could have enjoyed watching her downfall. Instead, he did something unexpected. He defended her. He explained that everyone makes mistakes. He said leadership should create opportunities for growth, not destruction. Those words stunned Robert even further. They stunned Victoria most of all. The man she had humiliated was showing her compassion. The man she had judged was extending grace. The man she had treated unfairly was demonstrating the very qualities she lacked. That moment changed more than a corporate position. It changed hearts. Over the following weeks, Robert implemented major leadership changes. Victoria remained with the company but entered an intensive leadership development program. For the first time in her career, she spent time working directly alongside employees at every level. She listened. She learned. She apologized. And slowly, she began rebuilding trust. Daniel accepted a senior leadership role overseeing company culture and operations. His influence spread throughout the organization. Employee satisfaction improved. Retention increased. Morale reached levels the company had never seen before. But the greatest transformation happened outside the office. One evening, Daniel arrived home carrying exciting news. Lily ran toward him. He lifted her into his arms and told her they wouldn't have to worry about rent anymore. They wouldn't have to count every dollar. They wouldn't have to wonder how tomorrow would look. Tears filled his eyes as he realized the long season of struggle was finally ending. Not because luck had found him, but because he never allowed hardship to destroy his kindness. Years later, employees still shared the story of the day a soaked single father walked into Hale Industries. Many remembered the shocking moment water splashed across his suit. But what they remembered most was what happened afterward. They remembered humility overcoming pride. They remembered compassion overcoming humiliation. They remembered that true leadership begins with respect. If this story has touched your heart so far, Please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to Bright Heart for more powerful stories that celebrate kindness, courage, and hope. Special request, comment below with the words, "Character matters," if you believe a person's heart is more important than their appearance. As Daniel tucked Lily into bed that night, she asked whether good things happen to good people. He smiled gently and thought about